Now, how much cursing can we get into
A
here?
lot.
It's in our tagline.
We have cursing in our tagline.
Your tagline. Okay, so you say these words, you have these interactions.
I'm getting emotional thinking about it.
Okay. Actually, guys, it makes me feel great.
Easy. It's just the normal person in the Ritter Ramsey double, right? So a normal one.
Dental partners that break up. It's like a marriage, you know.
It's a sexless marriage, right?
Yeah, right. Like most marriages.
Because when Ingrid asked the question, I was just, maybe
I knew you were holding back because I know
You live in my best life. But you didn't see the bullshit of me going through. You show that one snapshot of that 160 seconds in your life, and that's why it's complete, utter bullshit.
And the biggest problematic egos are the ones that say, yeah, I don't have an ego. So I was worried about Rob's answer because that's bullshit because we all have an ego.
Says somebody else sees all the 24-year-olds. We see the 24-year-olds' grandmothers. And that's exactly right.
You got a crooked smile. Well, that don't bother me much. You double over working double time, you double tough. I'll just shine it up until the sun hit like a glare. I gotta dare. Get the fuck up out the chair.
Meet Dr. Rob Ritter, a top Florida dentist, consultant for many dental manufacturers, and a sought-after speaker who's lectured around the world on cosmetic dentistry, implants, and digital technologies. Dr. Ritter is an expert in aesthetic dentistry and branding, and is the co-founder of Ritter and Ramsey in Florida, where they focus on making beautiful, natural-looking smiles a core part of everyday dental care. In this episode, we cover how dentists can use technology to make life easier and have better work-life balance, why it's important to create a strong, genuine brand and become an expert in a specific area of dentistry to run a successful practice, and why keeping your ego in check and communicating well are key to building lasting, successful partnerships in your dental practice. If you want to grow your practice while living a happy, balanced life outside of the office, this is one episode you do not want to miss.
Tired of bouncing between ClinChecks, refinements, and Invisalign bills? Serving patients is what you do best. Leave the back and forth to us. With TwoFront, you get to unwind, fully automate your Invisalign practice, and watch your patients receive the highest level of care without losing any control. From closing your patients to designing ClinChecks, managing insurance and compliance, your TwoFront team does it all. Think of it as a splash of simplicity. Use one simple platform to have full visibility of your patients in treatment. Dentists and orthodontists across 150 practices have jumped in, seeing their Invisalign production soar without adding any extra chair time. TwoFront members have seen a 350% increase in production, adding over $100,000 in profit to their bottom line. Whether you're on the court or in the office, TwoFront helps you ace your goals. See how TwoFront can transform your practice. Visit mytwofront.com/Ingrid to book your demo and dive in today.
Welcome back to The Happy Dentist. Today we are very excited to have Rob Ritter on our show. Christian, you know Dr. Ritter way better. Please do us the honors and introduce him.
So we are completing the team. We had Ramsey here on a previous episode and now Rob. So we have Ritter and Ramsey complete. And as I mentioned before, we were trying to find a way to introduce him. And I said, easy. It's just the normal person in the Ritter Ramsey double, right? So a normal one. But it doesn't mean he's not as interesting as Chris. And I'm sure the discussion will be amazing because he has many great insights that I always loved to listen and learn.
You're very kind. Known you a long time. So it's great to be here with all of you.
Yeah. I have to say real quick, Rob, that the first time I met you and Ramsey was in Hawaii, and you came up to me and you said, I saw you speak at AACD. I love what you were talking about. I know you did this and that with Pascal. Like, we're very excited to see you. And you guys were so nice to me. And I was so new to the speaking world and, publishing my research. And you guys were so welcoming. And over the years, both of you have really become mentors of mine. And I've text you and ask you questions about the industry. And I just want to say thank you, because it's really been a great relationship having you guys as friends.
Well, thank you. And it's been easy. It's easy for people like you, Kyle, and knowing Christian for as long as I have. It's very, very easy to do because you're good people. And I've always considered myself very lucky in some of the things that have happened for me. And so why not, be a resource to people and help people out along the way? And I remember it not being very welcoming when I came to town, and I wanted not to portray that both locally and nationally. So it's great. It's great to be able to spend some time with both of you today.
You and Chris met in Vegas, right? 16 years ago, something like this?
No. We've known each other even longer than that. We've known each other 24 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he came to town, and he was an associate in practice. A mutual friend of ours that worked for Ivoclar at the time said, I got to introduce you to this younger guy. We meet, and we became fast friends. His deal to buy a practice fell through. My associate, who I knew was not going to work out long-term for me, gave me notice. And then I went over to Chris's one night, and his 10-month-old was asleep in the crib, and said, how would you like to come in and be my associate and eventually be my partner? And literally that was on a Thursday night. Tuesday night, he is my associate working in the practice.
No way.
Oh, yeah. And then 4 years later, we built this office and this facility here, and we've been doing it for 20 years ever since partners. So it's a total of 24 years.
Amazing. And I know you guys get asked this question a lot, and what is the secret to maintaining a partnership? Because you see so many dental partners that break up. It's like a marriage, they break
It's
up.
a sexless marriage. It's a sexless marriage, right?
Yeah, right. Like most marriages.
We get the question all the time, Kyle, and it really comes down to understanding that a dental partnership is based on two things. They fail for two reasons. They fail for money and they fail for ego, right? It's that simple. If you're going to nickel and dime each other to death, if one person disproportionately outproduces the other, if one person makes more money than the other, longevity is not going to be there. It's not going to be in the cards. And then the other side of it is we both know about, now how much cursing can we get into?
A lot.
It's in our tagline.
We have cursing in our tagline.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's be honest here. We've both met a bunch of pricks along the way, and these assholes would never share the limelight, the stage, the notoriety with anybody else, both locally and nationally, if you know what I mean, Christian. Correct? So you have to realize the fact that some people might shine brighter than you, but you bring something else to the table. Maybe they have a different direction, a different purpose, a different meaning. It's all okay with me. If Chris has a bigger personality than me, I think he does. That's okay with me. I don't mind. I don't mind that at all. My thing has always been, what are we going to move the entity forward with? How are we going to continue to evolve, be better, be the best in town? Because our practice is the best in town. Our goal was not to be second best. Our goal was to be best, better than everybody else, constantly evolving, constantly changing, adding new things to it. And so if that's what the partnership is going to be, that's what it's going to be. And lastly, listen, I want people to understand, we have a great time. But there are times I want to kill him. And there are times he wants to kill me. I mean, it's just the way it is. We go away last weekend. We have a great time. But sometimes, I can't take it, right? So, and he feels that way about me sometimes too, because we're two humans. We're into the middle and towards the end of my career. This is the way it's going to go. So if you understand that, those couple things going into it, and you set yourself up for success, then you're going to be successful. If those two things are deal breakers, you shouldn't have a partner.
I have to say, having a partner with my partner, Matt Najad, one of the best things about Matt, well, just like what you said, he and I will argue. We can get pissed off at each other. But one of the best things about Matt is he'll bring things up that need to be talked about, whether they're difficult, whether he knows he's going to offend me, all this kind of stuff. He'll bring it up. And even sometimes I'm like, fuck, I don't want to talk about this, Matt. But then afterwards, I'm so happy that he did, because we work it out, we go forward.
Yep. And that's what we do too. Today, Ramsey said to me, there was something I bitched about. And then later he goes, you haven't answered me back on this, which means when you shut down, you say you want to think about it. That means you don't want to talk about it at all. I said, actually, it's not that. I do want to think about it. But a lot of times I've got so many other things going in my head. I can't remember the myriad list of things that we got to get through. And it's a lot. Because as you know, it's not just the practice. It's speaking, it's hosting our own course, it's working with manufacturers. It's constantly going. And so I can't remember everything. I'm not a human computer. I'm an older dentist now too. I don't function like I did 30 years ago. And I was young and full of young and piss and vinegar and all that shit. So yeah, that's the way it goes.
I have a relationship like that with my right hand too, and it's the best thing ever. And I think there's two things that you said. One, there's no ego there, and two, what I say is you don't make assumptions. I think if you make assumptions about what other people are thinking, doing, the reasons they do things, instead of just asking directly, like, hey, why, blah blah blah. We are at war every single day, but because we just have no ego, we respect each other, and we just talk directly to each other. The relationship, it's like the best work relationship ever. Rob, I wanted to ask you, because this is something that Christian and Kyle and I talk about a bunch, with not having ego as being like key to success. Do you think that's something that you were born with, like not having an ego, where you can be like that in a relationship, or you develop that?
Oh, first of all, if I said I don't have an ego, that'd be incorrect. Everybody that does what we do has an ego.
Yeah, I learned that from Christian.
Now, some of them don't fit in a room.
Can't get their head through the door, right?
Can't get their head through the door. And some of them have to compartmentalize it to be able to squeeze through the door. I have an ego. Now, my ego, quite honestly, has gotten smaller through the years, though, because I kind of achieved what I wanted to achieve. I never had these grandiose thoughts of being, X, Y, and Z. So for me, I've kind of achieved what I wanted to do. And so my ego, I think, has gotten a little smaller. I think my partner's has gotten a little bigger. And that's okay. It's not a negative. It's true. But that's his thing, too. And that's his thing. And I'm okay with that, right? So I kind of know that about him. And I think it's more important to him at this point in his life than it is for me. So I'm okay with him getting more spotlight than me. My thing has always been, I started out walking into a room of very, very high-end dentist at an Ivoclar retreat. And I remember looking in the room thinking, I don't belong in this room. I don't. I'm the smallest guy on the totem pole. And I said, I don't belong here. And the person who invited me said, that's great. Go sit the fuck down. And, you learn and you grow from that experience. And I always just didn't want to be, you ever read the line, when you look around the room and you know who the chump is, it's you?
Yeah.
I never wanted to be the chump in the room. And so I always strive to be better. And along the way, I've done a lot of things and picked up maybe some accolades. And my ego has grown proportionally with that. But now that I've achieved certain things and goals, it's not as important to me as it used to be. I don't want to be completely disregarded. At the same time, I don't need to be put up on the pedestal kind of thing, because at the end of the day, I want to be like was to Kyle. I want to be able to walk up to people and go, hey, how's it going? The last couple of meetings I've been to, I'm welcoming new people. Hey, because, I'm in this profession now 31 years. There's going to come an end point. It's going to come to an end. Hopefully it's on my own terms and not taken away from me. And at some point, I got to pass it over to somebody else. So I want them to succeed. I mean, I don't want anybody to fail unless they're an asshole.
Tired of bouncing between ClinChecks, refinements, and Invisalign bills? Serving patients is what you do best. Leave the back and forth to us. With TwoFront, you get to unwind, fully automate your Invisalign practice, and watch your patients receive the highest level of care without losing any control. From closing your patients to designing ClinChecks, managing insurance and compliance, your TwoFront team does it all. Think of it as a splash of simplicity. Use one simple platform to have full visibility of your patients in treatment. Dentists and orthodontists across 150 practices have jumped in, seeing their Invisalign production soar without adding any extra chair time. TwoFront members have seen a 350% increase in production, adding over $100,000 in profit to their bottom line. Whether you're on the court or in the office, TwoFront helps you ace your goals. See how TwoFront can transform your practice. Visit mytwofront.com/Ingrid to book your demo and dive in today.
And Rob, what you and Chris did for me, you guys probably don't know how much it impacted me and gave me such a great early experience with, people that were much more successful and much further along in their career than me. It really was a big deal. I've never really told you. It was a big deal for me.
I didn't know that. You see, it's funny. You say these words. You have these interactions.
I'm getting emotional thinking about it.
I'm actually, guys, it makes me feel great because I guess I had a bigger impact than I thought. You spend time with people, you don't really know when you're having an impact with them immediately. And you don't think that the words that you share with them are that impactful until later in life. And I find out years later from Kyle that I somehow made an impact in his life. And look at what Kyle has become. I mean, I love to see that, especially for great people. I love having these experiences with great people. And the other people, I just don't want to be a part of them. I don't want that in my life. I don't need it. I don't want it. I just stay away, stay far away. That means a lot to me, Kyle. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that special moment. And I think you nailed it on the answer about ego, because when Ingrid asked the question, I was just, maybe
I knew you
Rob
were holding back because I know
he's
But there's a
gonna catch
difference. I guess, Christian, to me, there's a difference between like humble confidence and ego, right? Like everyone here is like, when you get those accolades, you're still humbly confident.
That's the problem. The problem is it's not having an ego. And the problem is not even having a big ego. The problem is not controlling it, not acknowledging it.
not having the awareness
About it, right? We all have, and the biggest problematic egos are the ones that say, yeah, I don't have an ego. So I was worried about Rob's answer, because maybe he would say, yeah, oh, thanks, Ingrid. Yeah, that's true. I don't have an ego and blah, blah, blah. And that's bullshit. That's bullshit, because we all have an ego. And if you like to lecture, and I know that Rob likes to lecture, you need to have an ego, because you want to be on stage, you want to share, you want to inspire, right? You don't want to be in a forest living alone by yourself, or being a monk in the mountains. So you have an ego. And sometimes among top dentists that are speakers, the egos are huge. And that's not a problem if you can control it. It's a never-ending exercise that you need to do every single day. And Rob is a master on that, because he never allowed his ego to get in the way of being an ethical, nice person. And I love Rob the same way that I love Chris. I may be a little bit more similar to Chris in certain things. And I can say, the ego has got into his way a little bit stronger and sometimes harmed him, right? Because of lack of awareness. And many mistakes that I did in my life was because at that specific moment, I was not aware of my ego.
I agree.
So well said, Christian. So well said.
Can I ask something? How do we define ego?
I think we are kind of unofficially talking about the ego from one specific definition. I think there's more than one definition, right? There's probably the scientific, psychological, correct one, but we are talking about the ego in terms of when your selfishness and becomes bigger than your perception of the outside, and you're full of shit, right?
I think of it as self-awareness, because I think there's positives and negatives to it. So it's just awareness, being able to think outside of yourself, look back at things you did and reevaluate if it was the right thing to do or the right way you said it, or did you let your amygdala take over and hijack what you were thinking? Mm-hmm. So yeah.
I'm sorry, I was going to add one more thing to that. I think also, this is so multi-layered. Taking care of yourself and thinking yourself is important is a good thing in a way. I use that energy now for my health. My favorite patient who's no longer with me used to say, be selfish with your health. And so my ego about my health is like very, very important right now. Okay. But when that becomes more important than taking care of your loved ones or putting other people in front of you at different times, that's when your ego gets out of control. And when you get out of control, things seem to spiral downwards. And it's a hard thing in human life every day to balance everything that we've got going on. Taking care of oneself, taking care of your family, taking care of your business, taking care of your friends. I mean, it's almost unimaginable at the level that we operate every single day. So having that, and I hate the word balance because I think it's overused. It's like, I have a passion in dentistry, I have balance in dentistry. Overused bullshit words. It's so much more nuanced and complicated than that. So that's kind of where I'm at right now in the last stages of my career. This, like I said, this is my 31st year of dentistry. I'm enjoying it more than ever before, but I've also made sure I've stayed within guardrails, and I've gotten blasted for that. Let's also say it. I've also gotten blasted for that, for sometimes people thinking I'm selfish, but without those guardrails, I'd be all over the place. I'd be all over the place. And I can't be that person. I don't want to be, you know what it is? I've never wanted to be considered a joke. Look, Christian knows this. When I came to town, I wasn't exactly warmly welcomed, Kyle. I don't think you know the story, and I'm not going to really go into it. And to my detriment, instead of focusing on certain things, I focused on others. And one of them was to gain respect of my local dental community, hence putting myself out there as a resource, learning, becoming members of these academies, striving for these goals to hit, so that I'd have these ridiculous accolades where you'd say, wow, Rob is really, he knows what he's doing. He has a great practice. He's a great dentist, blah, blah, blah. And looking back on it, I can't tell you that it was a smart decision. I did it for sometimes the wrong reasons, right? I think I could have, quite quite honestly had a lot more money if I didn't focus on that. Who knows? I might have a super practice. I might have 10 practices. I don't know. But that wasn't my path. My path is kind of where I am right now. But what I learned in that process was you need to block out the outside world, focus on your goals and what's it going to take to drive your goals to get to what you want them to be. And knowing along the way, they can change. They can change because it's a journey, not the destination.
And it's harder than ever before to block everything out because we're living in the social media world where you're not just comparing yourself to your neighbors, you're actually comparing yourself to the world.
Okay, so let's talk about that real quick, because that's what I partially lecture on these days is social media, right? Social media awareness. Most importantly, branding is my thing, is branding yourself. And being what I say, different, being authentic, being genuine, and being original, right? That's very, very important in branding right now. And I think, to me, creating your brand is everything to drive your goals in social media. Now, I also call Instagram Instasham, because the problem with Instagram specifically, and we'll focus on that one, is you take a picture of the new smile that you just inserted. Well, John Sorensen, one of the best researchers, says you better take a picture of that porcelain in the mouth because that's the best day it's ever going to have. But you never see these big shots post pictures 5 and 10 years down the line, because typically it doesn't look like it did the day they took that picture. I'm really good about posting 5, 10, 15, 20, 25-year post-ups. Yeah, is there micro leakage? Yeah, is some recession? Absolutely, but the restorations is still in the mouth, right? I'm proud of that. People take a picture. Look, I'm guilty of this too. I went to Capri. I was in the Isle of Capri for my big 60th birthday in July.
I was there a week ago.
Yeah, it was awesome, right? It's beautiful. And so you post on that picturesque beach with the parasols, living my best life. But you didn't see the bullshit of me going through, Istanbul airport and missing the flight. You don't see any of that bullshit along the way. You show that one snapshot of that 160 seconds in your life. And that's why it's complete, utter bullshit. It's complete and utter bullshit.
That's why I love speakers like Joe Kahn. And, he shows like, look, I published this in 2000. I traveled around the world. I taught everybody and showed everybody how good I am. Then he has this story where the lady messaged me on LinkedIn 20 years ago. She went to India. She came back. And now, the implant's out here. The bone is up here. There's no papilla. That's what it is.
And he's the best at that, right? I just saw him a couple of weeks ago. He was at the AED and he showed that lecture, and it's so great because it makes you feel like, if this happens to Joe Kahn, it can happen to anybody. It's like the professional golfer. You see some guy go out there and shank a 7 in a professional golf tournament, and you're thinking, well, if that guy hit a 7 on that shot, what chance do I have? I have no chance. Zero chance. Okay, what else are we going to hit?
So Rob, I want to ask you, obviously you guys have the most incredible practice in your part of town. If you were to give dentists one piece of advice on branding, what would it be?
Well, like I said earlier, you have to be authentic, you have to be genuine, you have to be original, do what you want to do. Don't listen to the outside world. Say, you can't do that. I wouldn't do that. Don't listen to those idiots. I mean, those are typically people who either don't want you to succeed or are failures themselves. So move on from them. And then most importantly in dentistry, if there's something you like to do, get really good at it. Chris calls it, doesn't he say being great at your craft, I think is what Chris says. So if you focus and you want to be, the best at doing, I'm just going to make this up, single implants, then take the courses, work with the mentors. There's so many out there to get really, really good at that so that all of a sudden you build your reputation locally on that. Now, I don't want the reputation of having to do a single central. Coy says you don't make money on that, you build a reputation. And I don't want that reputation, right? I don't want it. So, but whatever you like to do, drive that goal, and whatever it takes to get there. If it takes you extra classes, extra time, extra money, it doesn't matter. It's part of the journey. Enjoy it. There are going to be ups and downs like anything else in life. And so we put ourselves out there as the best at what we do. But remember, we're also very small in focus. I don't take teeth out. I don't do grafting. I don't, do what Kyle learned to do. I don't do any of that. My focus on restoring the teeth from the gum, from the gum up. And so for me, I've taken so many courses on occlusion, aesthetics, digital technology, all of those different things that put together the package so we become unconsciously competent and so good at what we do. It's almost like we're coming in and we're not really working. It's almost like a hobby. And when people feel that, you just exude that confidence, patients just relax in the chair, they deflate like, this is why I'm here. I say it all the time. This is why I'm here, Dr. Ritter. I didn't feel the injection. That technology, the last 2 dentists I had, I've never seen anything like that. Your office just runs better. Your team is so nice. They knew who I am. Well, you think it's that difficult. It's not that difficult, right? It's not.
Yeah, Rob, I use you and Chris all the time in lectures a lot when I'm talking, and I talk about how you don't need to do everything. but you need to understand everything. It's something Christian talks about a lot of time, right? You guys have a restorative-based practice. You do restorative dentistry, right? Doesn't mean you don't understand airway, you don't understand ortho, you don't understand perio. You guys have that, but you've chosen to do what you like to do, what you think you're good at, and have amazing relationships with specialists or other GPs or whoever. And still the patient gets comprehensive treatment, but you've chosen to pick what you want to do and what you like to do.
And that's what we did. And then actually that's the focus of our course. So the problem also on that, Kyle, is you go take these, look, you go to Pankey, Spear, Dawson, Coyce, and you spend $30, $40, $50,000 and learn from these wonderful people. And they're all great, right? The problem we've noticed is you go back to your practice, you have this incredible wealth of knowledge, of very, very well-defined, from perio to ortho to all that things. And then you go back and nothing changes. You don't implement anything that you learned. Your hands are tied behind your back. You don't know how to get started. You don't know how to talk to the patient. You don't know how to acquire a patient. You don't know how to transfer the information to your laboratory. You can't even globally look at the case and say, that patient's overclosed. I can't do 3 teeth. I have to open up the vertical and do an arm. You can't go back and do it. And so I feel like, okay, why are you going there then in the first place? Are you really going to learn to provide the best for your patients? Or, I hate to say this, but let's be honest, there are a lot of people that go to these places to be around like-minded people, to have a good time, but they have no intention of going back to their practice and actually using the skill set that, let's say, John gives you. So that's where the whole genesis of our course was. You come to our course anywhere along that journey, and I'm going to show you how to cut out all the fat, get the patients in your chair, talk to them, get them to move forward digitally, and do comprehensive dentistry in a very succinct way that you feel confident. Our biggest successes are the week after our course. You can't believe how many people will text us and say, I went back to my office. I just sold 24 units, upper 12, lower 12, utilizing what you told us to do. Not only did it pay for the course, you have the skill set now to move forward and do that over and over again. What is that worth? And quite honestly, there's nothing else out there like our course. There's not. And we did that deliberately so that nobody could say, well, you just copied such and such. No. There's nothing out there like what we do. Nothing.
Well, Rob, I know we're about to wrap up, so I want to make sure that we have enough time for one more question. Christian, did you have something?
I wanted to, on the topic of, since I know it's a topic that Rob has been talking about since many years, that social media and digital marketing and branding, as you said. I actually remember the first time you were putting the first lecture about this topic, that I went down to Florida to help you guys put the lecture together and so on. And we were defining the niche, right? That Chris wanted to talk about the digital workflow. And you said, I can talk about so many things, but I think I can differentiate myself and get to speak to study clubs by talking about social media and digital marketing that at the time was starting. And I noticed that recently you guys drastically changed your marketing strategy, branding, and social media style. You've been into these topics for more than 10 years, and for the last 2 maybe years, you guys created a new strategy. What guided this new strategy? Why did you guys change the direction of your branding? What exactly did you do and why you did it?
Great observation. So what happened was, Christian, again, to kind of narrowly define what we really wanted to do and drive that goal, if you call it, let's say, casting for fish. You ever hear, if you show me your bait, I'll show you the type of fish you're going to catch? Well, I said, we're too broad right now. I want to narrow this down even further. I'm not looking for the new patient that comes in with a broken tooth. I'm looking for the patient that comes in that's worn down all their teeth, and they want solutions to their problem. Irregardless of what some of my friends say about phasing cases and they don't have the money. I was just sitting next to Bill Strupp last weekend, and Bill says, Ritter, because I love what you guys are doing, because they're coming for Ritter. They're coming for Ramsey. They're coming for Strupp. I go, that's right. He goes, because you're really good at what you're looking for and how to solve the problem. And people want the best, they will find you. And so I said, let's dial that in. So like anything else, you're turning the knobs and really dialing it in to get that best signal along the way. And so we said, let's focus specifically on that type of dentistry. Let's change up the business model. Let's change the type of marketing that we're doing and the avenues that we're going ahead and releasing it in. And let's throw that out there and see what we're getting. And guess what? It's done incredibly well. Now, having said that, I want to make sure we are not the veneer practice of Florida. That's not what we want to be. We don't want to do, veneer after veneer after veneer. That because unfortunately where we live, Chris had a great line last weekend. Says somebody else sees all the 24-year-olds. We see the 24-year-olds' grandmothers. And that's exactly right. We see the grandmothers who are now 65, 70, 75 years old with destroyed dentitions that want to rebuild it and have great longevity with their teeth so they can masticate their food, have a great lifestyle here in Florida. And so we said, let's drive that goal. And that's exactly what we did by using videos, putting it on different social media channels, and really doing different touchstones to get people to notice it and set us apart from everybody else. Christian, across the street from us, there's 5 dentists in the building. I've never met one of them in 20 years. Not one. I couldn't tell you what they look like. Nobody's come next door to introduce themselves. It's incredible. I mean, really, it's an unbelievable. Where we live is so, I could spend a half hour just talking about where we live and the dynamic around here. So we have to be different and better than everybody else. And we are in that narrow focus. I can't tell you that somebody down the road is not doing great implants that's a general dentist. That'd be unfair. I don't know if that's the case, but I'm not looking for those people. I'm looking to provide a very specific skill set to the people in need. And that's kind of what we did. And I think we've done a really nice job of dialing that in. And you know what? It's a work in progress too. We're always changing the dials a little bit. And as the ship goes a little off course, you have to turn the rudder again to get it more on course and keep driving forward, because it's nothing about the past. It's all about the future and where we're going. And, I want to just say, Christian, what you did for me and Chris years ago to show us so many different things and open our eyes to digital technology. We're 100% digital. We do all the digital planning. We're just so much going on right now because of you, and what you've done for the dental community in itself is great. And Kyle, back to you. What you've done for mental health has been so needed for so long. It's like the one thing in dentistry nobody talks about and yet has always persisted. It's like the thing you don't want to talk about under the cover. And you're doing a great job with that. And it's a pleasure to know both of you. And Ingrid, great to spend a little bit of time with you as well. Hope to get to spend some more time. I hope to come back and do this again with you a little bit more extended time and hit some other topics, but it's great.
Yeah, let's plan another one.
We have to. Thank you so much, Rob, for joining.
Thank you very much.
Before we wrap, where can people find you?
Oh, well, obviously for me personally, it's Dr. Rob Ritter on Instagram. You can find our practice at ritterramsey.com, or you can go to our course, which is www.theprotocollive.com. theprotocollive.com. There's information about the course. You can sign up for the course there, and we're a resource for people. That's kind of what it comes down to now.
Amazing. Well, thank you again for joining, and I'm very excited for round 2 of this.
Me too.
Let's do it. Hope to see you in person, Rob, soon.
Yeah, Christian, it's been way too long. Do I have to come to Madrid?
You should. You should visit us here. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Rob. Have a great day. Thanks, everyone.
Get the fuck up out the chair. Whoa.